Alright, so in this video we're going to continue talking about some foundational stuff that I would like you to be apprised of heading into some more meaningful topics. And in this one we're going to be talking about what I mean by language and its importance in the grand scheme of our understanding our reality. So this topic has so many different facets to it, and we're going to talk about all of them in this on this channel, all the way from understanding the meaning of words, looking at etymology, studying the Proto-Indo-European language. We're going to be breaking apart words so that we can find more meaning within them. We're going to be talking about prefixes and suffixes and root words, and we're going to talk about every letter, because letters have meaning as well that we have to pay attention to. And we're even going to talk about some deeper meaning, some tricks to the trade, if you will, when talking about language. But first and foremost, I just want to start by explaining that language is a mirror reflection of our reality, because that's what we use language for. We use language to explain what's going on around us, and language becomes most important when we're having a conversation with someone who disagrees with us as to what our reality appears to be like. And when we can articulate our argument, which is just a word for that is used when you're talking to somebody who doesn't agree with what you're perceiving from your reality. When you're having an argument with someone, the most persuasive argument tends to win. And so, you're seeing people counter that by saying, well, if I don't allow you to argue, then I win. But that doesn't work for language. And so it's very important and very successful for us to have a very deep understanding of what language is and all of its deeper meanings and little tricks and tools to trade. As I said already, stop repeating yourself. The thing that I want to say, though, is about success. So when it comes to communication, if you can communicate yourself better, if you can take what's inside your head and articulate it more effectively than other people, that will make you more successful. And that's ultimately why we study language. So the most sought after people in the world are salespeople, because if you can sell a thing, that just means that you can take what's inside your head and articulate it in such a way that can get somebody else to purchase a product. But there's other methods where having a deep understanding of language makes you 10,000 times more profitable, more useful within our society. People often forget that we're utilizing language every time we use the internet. It's called HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Those are codes. Those are languages. Just because it's not English doesn't mean that it's not a language. So we're utilizing this stuff every single day, and not just salespeople who can communicate more effectively. Not only they are the arbiters of a successful person, but also coders, people who can utilize the very logical languages of the internet, of software. Those guys are paid exponentially higher than other people who cannot do that stuff. This stuff, language transcends all other practices because it does things that nothing else can do. It connects people. It unites people. When we look at the word words, the word word has meaning to it. You wouldn't know that because people don't want you to know about these little tricks and tips. But when you study language, you learn that you can break apart words and move them around to find hidden meaning within them. So, for example, in the Arthurian legends, we have the sword Excalibur. This sword, through legend, says that it unites the entire British Isles. Whoever wields it can unite the entire British Isles. How does a sword be able to do that? Well, you first think, well, maybe if I murder enough people with this sword, then I can control the whole British Isles. Or maybe this idea of a sword being able to unite people has nothing to do with slicing off people's heads, but just the word itself. Because when you take the word sword and you take the S and you move it at the end of the word, which is totally fine to do, what you get is the word words. And words can unite entire civilizations. Words can unite tribes. Words can do things that a sword can never do. As they say, the pen is mightier than the sword. There's a reason for that. The deepest, darkest secret about language that people don't want you to know about is its malleability, is the fact that it constantly changes and adjusts based on the constructs that we create around ourselves. It's just trying to understand our reality, and our reality is based on constructs. Therefore, our language will be based on constructs. And so, when you have words that you think are fixed and things that you think are fixed, I don't see any fixtures in our reality. I just see constructs that can be changed. So, for example, when you see a table, you understand the concept of table as something that has 4 legs and a flat surface, and its use is for you to put things on top of it. Well, I see the table, I understand that construct, I understand that concept, but I also see a chair, because I can sit on a table, and therefore now it's being used differently, and now it's a chair. And if you don't agree with me that suddenly a table becomes a chair simply because I'm sitting upon it, and I don't take kindly to that, I could take my table chair, and I could throw it at you. And now the table's no longer a table or a chair. Now the table or chair is a projectile. Do you see how things are malleable and change based on what is occurring around us? And so that's the deep, dark secret of language, is that there's secrets within it. There's malleability, and you are in absolute control of it, because as long as you can make words, and if you can't speak words, then you can at least write, hopefully. As long as you can do that, then you are in absolute control of your reality, because you can say things and not say things and change things. This is why the importance of truth starts to grow within our being. We need standards, we need principles, we need morals, because we can use words to say things that are not true. That's fascinating. There's not very many things that can do that can defy truth itself. Words are one of them. So they're very dangerous. So we have to be aware of them. We have to understand them, because they can be used against us. And so let's also talk about this too with words, because I want to state my case for the importance of them. You could have nothing in this world. Absolutely nothing. You could be broke. You could be living in a trailer park. You could have no money. As long as you have words, as long as you have language, none of that matters. Because you can use this absolutely 100% free substance, this true substance, to create millions upon millions of dollars. Need look no further than Slim Shady. Eminem was living in a trailer park. He used his words to create an empire. You see this time and time again. There is nothing unique about what they do. You have access, unlimited access to the very thing that they used to become super successful. Words do that. Words and rhythm, that's all Slim Shady had. It's all you need to become a multi-millionaire, to become famous beyond your wildest dreams. That's the potential that language offers every single man, woman, and child. So I want to briefly talk about what language is doing in relation to Aristotle's Prima Genera. So I'm going to read that, and so we could get an idea of grammar and how these things relate to our reality very loosely, because our reality is based on constructs, and that stuff changes very quickly. But I want to show you that, and then I'll probably leave it at that, because this topic just goes spiraling out of control, and it happens very quickly. So I'll try to make this brief and then move on from language onto biology for the next video. So this is coming from one of my favorite books of all time, something that I read fairly regularly, called Socratic Logic, which is a book written by Dr. Peter Kreeft. And I highly suggest it for anyone who wants to understand language, because people forget that language, and you see this in coding most particularly, the importance to logic that has to do with languages. The they can't be separated. You can't separate language from logic. Logic and language must be treated as one and the same. But the point that I'm making here is about sorry, I didn't mean prima genera, I meant summa genera. But so here's what I'm talking about. So Aristotle came up with 10 categories which he thought were the most fundamental in the sense of the most broad, the most general, and the most generic. These categories are called the summa genera, the general classes that are the greatest in extension. Everything real, Aristotle thought, must be in one of these 10 categories. So all that these categories is just saying this is all that reality is. And these are just 10 categories that just explain everything that can occur within our reality. Okay? And so Aristotle writes, "For there is one substance in the most common understanding of the terms, such as man or horse. 2, how much, as being of 2 or 3 or 4 cubits. 3, of what, as being white or immortal or black or grammatical. 4, being related to something, or related as in like a double of something or half of something or a quarter of something or greater or lesser. 5, where, e.g. as being in the grove or marketplace. 6, when, e.g. as tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or today or next week. 7, having a posture, e.g. as one is reclining or standing. 8, to be equipped, e.g. as one is shod or armed. 9, to act, as a thing cuts or burns or moves or motions. 10, to receive, e.g. as a thing is cut or burned. The traditional terms for the 10 categories are substance, an individual thing or entity, not a kind of matter like salt. 2, quantity. 3, quality. 4, relation. 5, place. 6, time. 7, posture. Posture is the internal order of a thing's parts. 8, possession. 9, action. 10, passion, what's being acted upon. So relation seems to be more fundamental than Aristotle thought, and posture and possession less fundamental. But the rest of the list seems as fixed as the structure of language itself. For the parts of speech and language correspond to this list of categories. Hence, nouns and pronouns usually express substances. Adjectives express qualities or quantities. Prepositions and conjunctions express relations. Verbs express actions or passions, and adverbs express times or places, or more often, qualities or quantities of actions or passions. So I'm pointing that out just to point out that while I have to admit that there is just utter chaos when it comes to language, and that we are in complete control of this language, because all words are made up, and if they're made up by one person, then that means that any of us can make up words. Ultimately, everything that we use has an order. Everything that we use as language has an order that falls within certain categories, and we call those things nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, articles. They all fit into some term. But within that, there's infinite realm for creative possibility. And some of the most successful people on the face of the earth have tapped into this and utilized this secret about language. And so we're going to dive deep into language. We're going to dive deep into meaning. We're going to break words apart. I'm going to explain to you why words are broken, why certain words mean what they mean, and what their true meaning is. And ultimately, hopefully by the end of it, you'll see how much control you have over something that appears to be just not very important, because you don't see the words, even though these words have ramifications the likes of which people don't tend to realize, you know? So we'll talk about that and we'll get deep into it. I just wanted this to be just a brief idea of the reason why I elevate language to one of the most, if not the most important thing that you could possibly ever learn, and in order to become more successful within the reality by which we exist, because it's what we use to code our reality around ourselves. And we'll talk about that in later videos. All right, guys, if you found any of this interesting or useful, please feel free to share to anybody. And likewise, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, that's what the comments section's for, and I will respond to you. Thank you for your time, guys.